actors who portray them, not them. Of course. Of course, someone's from Asgard. He's not from Australia. What? But I think I agree with you. I think it'd be cool to show that not only America has these heroes, that they are branched out in other countries as well.
I would think that'd be amazing. But again, we'll just have to wait and see what Marvel has. Stan Lee, please let this be one of your last great works. I would love to see it, and also I'd love to see a Stan Lee cameo in that. Maybe he's just one of those guys from World War II or something like that who's just like, whoa, where did we get the reinforcement? Or some kind of line there. Something quirky like that. But I believe you have one more before we get into the final one?
Yeah, last one. My last one is in the Marvel Universe, kind of like you. And I don't know, it's been... I've had these talks with people before. Who's the most powerful superhero you've ever heard of? Comic books and anything. And, there's names thrown up there. Like, Thor's been thrown up there. Hulk. Superman.
The Noid.
What?
The Noid.
Oh. But it always comes back to when I'm talking to these people, I Black Bolt. Which a lot of people, he hasn't really been on, I think, the big screen at all, cartoon-wise either. I think he has a little part in, like, a Fantastic Four cartoon that was floating around probably 5 or 6 years ago, because his first appearance was in the Fantastic Four stuff. But he's a member of the Inhumans, which are a group of aliens, basically, who live on a whole other planet. So that's probably why he hasn't been brought into this world yet. But Black Bolt basically can't even talk because his power is so immense that if he whispers, he could, like, it's almost like it's called a quasi-sonic scream powered by electron energy. So even his whispering can bring down buildings and stuff.
Wow.
So he even has to meditate in his sleep so that he doesn't sleep talk. And so he meditates instead of sleep. Because if he talks in his sleep, he's married and everything. So he can kill his wife instantly. And I'm pretty sure his wife's part of the Inhumans too. But he's just amazing. He's all the superpowers all together. Like, he can fly. He's invulnerable. He's physically superior to all normal beings. Due to generations of eugenics, which is part of his planet. So they've made him a badass. And they can, him and his whole group of Inhumans have accelerated reaction time, stamina, strength, resistance to an injury, and speed. So it's crazy. He's just really powerful. He doesn't speak, which is really funny. I like those little quirks on the superheroes that I picked. Like, one looks like a green ball of moss. But, and then this guy, he cannot talk. And he can't talk. It would kind of be an interesting movie, like I would think his comics are interesting too. Like, there are no speech bubbles for him. But, I've never read his comics, but I just knew I've had these conversations before, and everybody picks Black Bolt as the most powerful superhero of all time. Across the universes, they think Black Bolt is the craziest. And that's why he is my last pick for a superhero who deserves to be talked about and deserves to have a little more cred. And he won't tell you that he deserves to, or he will kill you.
Oh, man. I can only imagine what, date night at the nighttime is going to be like for those two. Jeez Louise. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, never mind. I'm not even going to go into that. Moving on. So, I honestly do think that would be actually very interesting because you're so used to, like, so many actors just talking and talking and talking. To have that main lead actor not even talk. Maybe he just has all of his, narrations in his mind. That would actually be kind of cool.
I hate this person so much. Just nodding. Like,
Right? Or, like, he makes it seem like he's deaf, so he has to learn, like, sign language. I think that would actually be pretty interesting.
It would be cool, right?
Hey, how many superheroes know sign language? Let me give you a hint. Probably about as many as 0, as far as I know.
I don't know. I've never heard of a superhero that does sign language. So it'd be cool. I would thank them. I know some sign language. I'm working on it. Don't use that one. But no, I know a few. Me and one of my friends are trying to learn some of the ASL, so American Sign Language.
Oh, nice.
Just to know, just to be able to communicate to anyone that I talk to. I've actually met a few deaf people at conventions who were signing to me, and I signed a little bit back, and then they went crazy, and I was like, oh no.
What did I get myself into?
I'm like, I overstepped my bounds. I don't know that you're going too fast. So I thought it would be good of me to learn how to do some ASL. So just the basics, and if they go too fast though, I can't comprehend. I'm like, they're so good. I don't know how you can be that great with your like whoa.
I don't know.
Interesting.
It takes a lot of time. I mean, it's not like they can. Never mind. So let's get on to. No, jeez. I'm gonna sound. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm thankful I stopped right there. I would sound like a horrible person if I complete that thought. So we are on to the final superhero that both you and I are going to be talking about, and this was one where you just almost. Obviously, this is over text message, but this is one of those things where I thought, oh, she probably just bolted out of her seat. She's just probably jumping around like happy, happy, happy. This last superhero that we're going to talk about is one of the first known sidekicks and definitely one of the greatest role models, I think, when it comes to DC. That, of course, being Robin, a.k.a. Nightwing. Now, I got to give a little backstory about this, is that when the name Nightwing came about, the first thing that came to my mind was the Batman Forever scene where Chris O'Donnell playing Robin was talking to Val Kilmer. He was saying, like, I think I need a name, Bat Kid, Nightwing. And as soon as he mentioned Nightwing, I'm like, okay, okay, so he's probably just joking about that name or something like that. But now learning about Nightwing as an actual character, I'm just like, whoa, okay, so he was not joking about that. He was actually serious about that kind of name. And even hearing the story about how the name Nightwing came along, well, kind of give a little backstory about how it basically came about. Of course, everybody knows about Dick Grayson and the tragedy that happened that came to his parents where they died in a trapeze accident. And basically, Dick Grayson would soon follow onto Batman. One freak accident later where I believe he got shot in the shoulder or shot in the leg, and Batman's just saying, no, I can't risk having you, getting hurt anymore, and basically shuns him out. Well, a while later, he meets up with Superman, who brings up the name of Nightwing, who is apparently this person who was abandoned by his family, and he basically is somebody back on Krypton who would fight evil, but living basically by his own rules. And that's kind of where the name Nightwing kind of comes along. And just seeing the story of how, Nightwing evolved from Robin just really amazes me. I'm thinking, why haven't they made a movie about this? I think that would be amazing. The fact that they've, only done Robin for maybe like 2 major motion pictures, being Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, yeah, that movie worked out well. Those were the only 2 ones. I mean, they teased it a little bit in the Dark Knight Rises, but they never fully put Robin back on full time. I think that it's long overdue for Robin or Nightwing to get his own movie. Your thoughts, Tori? I know you've been itching to talk about this.
Well, no, I had to ask you because you wrote Robin when you were saying your picks, and I'm like, well, which Robin? And you're like, I'm like, it has to be Dick Grayson, right? And then he's like, oh yeah, when you looked it up and you're like, oh yeah, that's the one I was talking about. I'm like, so you really mean Nightwing, because Nightwing is badass. And I give a shout out to my friend on Facebook. She's known as Rosalita, but Roz, she actually cosplays as Nightwing, and she was the first one who kind of brought up how cool he was to me. And I had to look him up, and he is amazing. He's basically like Batman, but kind of has more of a personality and cares more. It isn't as cold, and yeah, I mean, he grew up in a circus, then what he did for like a living was basically him trapezing, doing crazy stunts, and that's kind of what Nightwing can do. He's a little more acrobatic than I think Batman is, but he still was trained and, you know, was the underling of Batman, so he kind of accumulated all of his powers along with his own like abilities to do stuff, and he's super smart, cracks codes, cracks all this stuff, and that's why, I mean, as Robin, he was part of the Teen Titans, and then if you do watch the new Young Justice, that I'm calling it new, but it's not really that new. Young Justice, he's in there, and he transforms from Robin to Nightwing in that, and like we were talking about, Starfire and him kind of have a fling, kind of have a thing, but Dick Grayson himself is actually a big playboy. He's been with a lot of superheroes, or superheroines, I'll say. No, that's because he has personality and charisma, and he's, I don't know, yeah, I guess I would say he's cute. But, no, I think it would be really cool to have Nightwing have his own movie. And let's not even do the bullshit. Let's not go through and be like, oh, let's make a Batman and Robin movie first, and then we'll do this, and then, no, just let's start with Nightwing. Let's just go right to Nightwing, because guess what? It'll show all of that. Ben Affleck can be in it for a second. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, you're my underling for 1 second. But, I think it would be really cool to just go right into Nightwing, because we all know the story. We don't need to be told it 5,000 times, DC. We know the story.
I'm sensing a little bit of bitterness when it comes down to that.
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest complaints is that, like, you're really going to tell me the Batman story again. Like, in the Batman vs. Superman, you're really going to tell us the story again. Like, oh, wait, Batman's parents died? What? No, we saw that 15 to 20 years ago. We know this. If you watch Batman and you don't know that Batman's parents died, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be in this theater. We don't need to see that. And it didn't have to be 7 minutes of, like, the whole movie of slow motion pearls, bloody pearls falling all over the ground. Please. And Superman. We know Superman's story, too. We had a 15, was it 15? Or it might have only been 13 seasons of Smallville that we had that kind of told the whole story for us. So.
Well, that, and there's also Man of Steel that they did like 2 or 3 times, so.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't need no origin stories from these superheroes. Fans don't need that. If you would like an origin story, go on YouTube and look up anyone's origin, and it'll tell you the origin story of that superhero, and then you can go see the movie. That they're going to spend millions of dollars, and we don't have to spend 30 minutes going backwards, because nobody wants that. We want to move forward.
Well, I think also in that same thought, and this is kind of where I'm playing, you know, on the other side, I think that there's some superheroes whose origins are not, you know, thoroughly explained, and I think that, you know, Dick Grayson would be one of those ones that I would actually like to see the origins of how he came to be. I know a lot of times people are just going to say, you know, everybody knows that he was a trapeze artist and everything. Well, I think that they need to, you know, maybe express that a little bit more. Maybe talk about, you know, how rough it was for him to really be a trapeze artist. Talk about, you know, how hard it was for his family basically to just go through that, because obviously, you know, they probably don't make that much in all honesty. I mean, they're very entertaining, and they do deserve a lot more, I should say, than what they're probably getting paid right now. But it would just be one of those things where, you know, he kind of deals with all this hardship, and that's kind of where, you know, he basically grows this, you know, I guess I wouldn't say like immunity, but basically, you know, this kind of hard shell where he's realizing, you know, life is a very cruel mistress, and you need to be tough sometimes. And I think that's where a lot of people will start seeing, you know, that's where, you know, Robin's toughness comes in. That's where the toughness comes in when he becomes Nightwing. So I guess in that same retrospect, I get what you're saying, but I think there's some of them that do need that kind of, you know, origins deal. I mean, I would honestly love to see maybe like Joker's origin deal, because I've never seen a movie where they actually did anything like that that wasn't, you know, animated, where they talked about, you know, where the Joker came from, how he came to be, and why he's, you know, the crazy lunatic that he is right now. And honestly, if they could find a way to redeem, the 30-second cameo that he did in Suicide Squad, then make a Joker's origin movie for all I care.
I think one movie that I can bring up